Alright, so this little video is going to be covering the usage of a word that I think is really important in spoken Spanish, and actually not only spoken Spanish, but also written Spanish, but oftentimes it's a very important word in spoken Spanish, and as a lot of people now, this time of the year, are starting to transition towards more conversational skills in Spanish, I think that learning the usage of this word and how it varies based off of just inflections or positions in the sentence, right, actually could be very, very helpful. So we're going to get started by learning about the word lo, which is not what you think it is, because a lot of learners will immediately recognize it and say, oh, that's the word for it, right? The word for it that you would put before a word to say that something did it or whatnot, right? But there's actually a few more uses for it in colloquial Spanish that we're going to go over right now. So starting off, probably the biggest one that you need to know about is lo que. And lo que is literally it that, or like the thing that, right? So it's the object pronoun it, and then the, what's it called? It's the subordinative clause indicator que or something like that. But basically you can just translate it as it that. So this is very important. What it is effectively in English is the pronoun version of what in English. So in English, the word what functions as two roles. It functions as an interrogative, but it also functions as a pronoun. So there's a difference between the saying what I gave you and what I gave you, right? Uh, yeah, it's weird. It's sort of just like in English we distinguish these based off of intonation, but the difference is in Spanish, que is one word that's actually a question, and then lo que is the word that actually is a pronoun, right? And you can see this pronoun in here, it, that. So I added this in here. It means it, the thing, the something, right? So I have a few example sentences, right? These are two sentences that are translated the exact same in English, but mean two different things. So there's a difference between lo que me dieron versus que me dieron, right? So the difference is, well, at first glance, it's what they gave me and what they gave me, right? But this is implying that this is a matter of fact, right? This is a it that to me they gave, or it that they gave me, or what they gave me, right? So when you're talking about like, oh, so often you can start off a lot of sentences by talking about, lo que me dieron ayer era una, so something like that, era un, or something like that, versus saying, que me dieron is almost like questioning yourself. Oh, what did they give me, for example? And then we have another one here, which is lo que quiero versus que quiero, which again, the only difference is this is what do I want as an actual question, and this is a pronoun, it that I want. So as a matter of fact, what I want is lo que quiero es, right? For example, lo que quiero es que vengas a la fiesta mía, for example, right? That's a matter of fact. Uh, Now, of course, the subject that you're talking about always has to agree with the gender and the number of the lo que sentence. So what I mean by that is that whatever you're referring to has to start with that. And now, if it's impersonal, like you're just talking about like something like if you don't want to think about it too much, it often defaults to lo que, right? Lo que is what it defaults to. But if there's a clear subject that you're talking about, then often it changes to the plural forms. Los or las que just means those that, or those who know, like los que saben, those who know. People don't say esos quienes saben. That sounds weird. They say los que saben, right? Those that know, or literally them that know, right? And then la que is just the female version of lo que. So any female object that you know that the subject is clearly female, then you have to talk about that. It can also be talking about the girl that, right? It can also literally be talking about a human. And then finally, there's the other use, which is the lo plus adjective, and which in English is the equivalent of saying the blank thing or the blank one, where the blank is the adjective, right? So obviously in Spanish, the adjective comes after the noun most of the time, but you can think of it in English as basically saying like lo is the thing and then adjective is sandwiched in there, right? So if we translate lo bueno, it would become the good thing. So lo bueno de is the good thing about or the good thing of, right? And then lo sucio is the dirty thing, right? So you can say the thing dirty or the dirty thing. Lo sucio de mis guantes. I don't know. The dirty thing about my gloves. And then la mojada is just the female version, right? So if the subject of the sentence is clearly identified as a feminine object, then it needs to be la, but this is just the wet thing. Do be careful though, because rarely um, the noun the noun can be a form of adjective. Oh wait, rarely it can be the noun form of an adjective, which is basically just like the adjective noun form is just any word in English that ends in ness, like dirtiness, goodness, wetness, right? Um, Something like that, right? So occasionally it's used like that, but it's not used super often. So generally, whenever you're introducing like a subject and you're just talking colloquially, right? These using the word lo bueno, lo que quiero is like, for example, is just a great tool that you're going to need, right? What I want to do, the good thing about, right? It's just a really great transition word, and there's basically like an infinite amount of them because you just take lo and you add an adjective, or you just say lo que, what I want is, which people say all the time. They say that all the time in Spanish too. And that is all I have.